Hello and welcome back to my Kansas City Royals series here on Out of the Park Baseball. We have just finished the 2022 season, have a score of 641. I don't know what scale that is, but it seems like a pretty random number. But anyway, we had a very successful season last year despite the disappointing finish. For the first time, we had made the postseason in this series. We were one step away from winning the pennant, but unfortunately we kind of collapsed after a Game 1 victory versus the Los Angeles Angels. We lost all the games after that, and the Angels went on to beat the Chicago Cubs in the World Series. So they were definitely a good team. They had 97 wins. It was going to be a tough matchup, but I think after that Game 1 win, there was definitely expectations that we were going to get there. So one big decision is Carlos Martinez. This is a guy who still has really, really solid ratings, but was just no other way to put it. He was just absolutely awful for us. That whip so high compared to his previous years. And the strikeouts, I guess, were still there. But, overall, it was just kind of strange. And he's still going to be owed $18 million if we want to pick that up. I'm not sure if there's a buyout here, a $0 buyout. So we could be off the hook for Martinez if we wanted to be. That's something to think about because I really think he could turn around and have a very strong season for us. I mean, that's why we picked him up is, we traded some good players for him, if I remember correctly. Otherwise, our owner is delighted in our performance, so he's definitely happy about that. We do have a new budget, so I'm not sure if this is up from last year. Let's take a look. We have no money for free agents. Wow. Oh, boy. Well, that might make our decision easier about re-signing Martinez, although Chua is definitely not going to be re-signed. He would be going to arbitration and probably getting about $11 million, and I don't really want to pay him that. I mean, he's a good pitcher. He's been good the last two seasons, but at 35, about to be 36 years old, I don't really have the most confidence in him to be able to keep that up. And we'll also have to get a new pitching coach, I guess, because Mike Maddox has retired, and we're going to need some other new people as well. All right, so we have a bit of a trade here. Given that I'm probably not going to re-sign some of our pitchers, really Chua is probably the main one that I would not have come back. We're going to need an arm, and I think this is a deal that really makes sense. So I do like Justin Williams, but I've never been someone who's really on board with him. You can see he had a really good offensive season. But he only had a 2.9 WAR, and that's just kind of indicative of what his defense is and what his speed is and really that his lack of eye is that even if he has a really solid season where he hits 320 with 20 home runs, he's a above average player, but he's not anything spectacular. And we still have another solid hitter, Nick Prado, who is just not really doing anything. He only played half a season last year, and mostly that was because we just couldn't find a place to put him in the lineup, and especially this last playoff series where we just didn't know who to give the ball to. I think that Osmer Morales is someone that we could really feel confident about, giving the ball to in a big game, somebody that has 70 control. Really 3 straight years he's been a very, very solid pitcher. He's got 2 years left of team control. He'll probably get pretty expensive in arbitration, but this is someone who I would rather have. You can see those walks per 9 innings super, super low, especially last year. And the BABIP, even though he had a 2.85 ERA, the BABIP wasn't that low compared to what it has been previously. So I think this guy is really solid. It's actually really been 4 straight years that he's been really solid. All right, yeah, so we are going to pull this deal off. So I have extended a number of offers to our arbitration-eligible players. Nothing that's really going to be a shocker. We're going to get rid of Brian Anderson because he wanted $2.5 million. I don't even know who he is. We're not going to re-sign Chua for $10 million. And the maybe slight surprise is I don't think I'm going to re-sign Castillo for $5 million. I think he's a good pitcher, but I don't know that the ERA tells the whole story here. That movement rating, he gives up a lot of home runs with the extreme fly balls. So the big kind of elephant in the room, though, is whether or not to extend Martinez. He would be making $18 million, which would be a lot of money to shed. However, his ratings are so good, and I just don't understand how this season ever happened, where he just gave up so many home runs seemingly out of nowhere. But his ratings are still, just as good. And even if you take a look at the OSA ratings, really, they're just as good. He's an extreme ground ball pitcher. I think we could get a lot more value out of him, even if we traded him later after he just shows us that he's still got something. So I do think I'm going to pick up that team option, but it kind of I don't know, it makes me shudder. That could go either way, man. So I guess one other thing to highlight about salary arbitration was Reese McGuire is demanding about $8 million. I am going to pay it, but I don't know that I would necessarily pay for that next year, and I might want to trade him. He is a good leader, so I kind of want to keep him, but that's getting a little bit expensive because he's not this superstar or anything. All right, so we are here at the awards. So it was a pitcher show. Shohei Ohtani. He won the MVP. No surprise at all there. He was a really valuable pitcher last year. You can see a 5.4 win pitcher, and as a hitter, he was a 3.7 win hitter. So that is really elite. But pretty cool stuff. For the NL, it was Corey Seager who won the MVP. I think he's won it a bunch. I mean, look at that batting average to go along with pretty elite power at the shortstop position. In the NL, the Cy Young Award winner was Noah Syndergaard, and unsurprisingly, it was Shohei Ohtani who won the Cy Young Award in the American League. This year, we did not win any Silver Sluggers, surprisingly. And we also, actually, Vinny Tosti won the Gold Glove in left field. No surprise there. I think, he's won it 2 times in a row now. What an elite defender and base runner. That is pretty cool to have on your team. All right, so we are at free agency filing. So obviously you can see next year it looks like Carlos Martinez will be a compensation free agent. So again, that's kind of part of the reason I kept him. I feel like if he has a bounce back season, we could get a first round pick out of him. And obviously that salary not too bad at 1 year, $18 million. As long as he does anything good. We do have some more money for free agents. Again, that's a result of shedding Chua and shedding Castillo. So at least we have some money, but we don't have too much to play with because obviously we're going to want to keep some of this money for the draft. We're also going to want to sign a pitching coach, and again, we're going to want a good pitching coach if we can find one. Jim Hickey, legendary. Well, that sounds pretty good to me. Absolutely one of the best. Well, great. Let's sign him. So hopefully that works out. Obviously, the Cubs have been pretty darn good. My word, that is unbelievable. Okay, but let's take a look at some of the free agents. I don't think we're really going to be players in this year's free agency class, except for maybe a small signing. But with that said, some good players here. Gary Sanchez, wow. He wants $40 million. Are you kidding me? Lindor wants almost 50. Lindor, obviously a crazy good player. Yeah, I mean, just taking a look at what we have, I feel like we've got a decent rotation as long as some of these guys bounce back. In the bullpen, that's always kind of figured out later. I think Beeks is a good number 6 guy. I'd like to try to get Kenan Shanowski in the rotation just to see what he does. But anyway, that's kind of all set. And then in terms of our batting order, we've already got people really at every position. It's really going to be next year when Paul Goldschmidt's contract is off the books that we can really make an actual move. But for now, I think we're going to be kind of standing pat. I also just want to take a quick look at our prospects here. So these are guys who I have identified as people who I think could make a pretty big impact in the major leagues potentially. Luis Molina, someone who we got as an international free agent signing, pretty good ratings there. But I'm just going to focus on a couple other people. Ismael Zermeno, someone who's really looking pretty good. He is 20 years old. He just hit in A ball and did pretty well, so he'll be in AA next year. And we'll see how he does. I wouldn't be shocked if he was a September call-up potentially, but we will see about that. Otherwise, Ian Buchholz, he's a third-round pick, but his ratings are looking pretty good, especially with that speed and infield range. I am liking that, and so hopefully in a couple of years he can make an impact. Another guy I wanted to focus on is Jorge Corona. He seems to be developing nicely. Still only 19 years old, but I really like this range and speed combination, and then his hitting ratings are pretty darn good. So he played in A-ball last year and struggled. He'll probably be, it says he'll be in AA. I might start him in A-ball, don't want to rush him too much. And then just some other guys. So this Nate Bigelow, he's someone that we drafted last year. He's looking pretty good. He's kind of a strange player to be sure. But anyway, that's another guy that we've got. And then in terms of our pitchers, we've got some good relievers. Really in terms of starters, this is the only guy who shows any potential. He's 22 years old, so we might actually throw him in the majors if he can do well in AAA. He just hasn't really proven himself down there, so I want to give him a little bit more time. Then some other relievers like this Mike O'Donnell looks like he'll be pretty good. And also Kevin Cannon. He seems to have really good stuff. So Anyway, that's just some of the guys who I'm kind of looking at just to show that, we still have guys who are coming up even though we are competing at the major league level, so that is always a good thing. All right, so we are here at the Rule 5 draft. I just thought this was a funny message. This Jian Cheng Di on the Boston Red Sox opened up an auto dealership. I just love some of these messages. It's just really funny. I give the same commitment to excellence in business as I do on the playing field. That's so great. Anyway, it's the Rule 5 draft. We're going to have the 22nd overall pick in the Rule 5 draft, which means that will be the pick that we have in the actual amateur draft as well. So if we take a look at all players, let's just make sure there's no one who's on our team. Yeah, I do not see anyone, so I think we should be fine. All right, so yeah, let's skip ahead until it is our pick. So again, in the Rule 5 draft, I kind of noticed that a lot of these guys, the head scout likes, but the OSA really does not. And normally the OSA seems to be right about those things. That's just something I've noticed, and it's only really true in the Rule 5 draft. But anyway, this Kim looks to be pretty good. He is fragile, but that might be someone we might want to think about picking up. I also like the looks of this Akil Badu. Some pretty good speed. The OSA and the head scout both like his ratings. In AA, he was pretty darn good, so I feel like him and Gigliotti could maybe kind of switch off. There's some big righty versus lefty splits, which is something that might work for a platoon. Unfortunately, though, I believe Gigliotti is also a lefty. Yeah, he is. I don't know, I definitely like him more than Trent Grisham, so I think I'm going to take this Akil Badu. I'm also interested in Brendan Tinsman. Obviously, the head scout is much higher on him than the OSA ratings, but I don't mind these OSA ratings too much. I also like that he's a righty, so he would be kind of a good platoon split with McGuire. Now, the only thing is we did sign a catcher just now. Let's see if I can find him. Yeah, Kurt Casale, Casale. I'm not really, caring too much if he really stays on the team, so I'll probably keep both and then, on opening day, make a decision. But I'm also going to pick up Brendan Tinsman. So, no huge pickups, but two guys who will be on the team the whole season or will be releasing them. But, they're two guys that I think could definitely make an impact. All right, so I've simmed ahead to opening day here. Just wanted to show you guys the preseason predictions. So we're projected to be 90-72, which is the exact record that we had last season. You can see Giancarlo Stanton is projected to have 62 home runs, so that's pretty incredible. We do not have any top 10 pitchers, but we do have a top 10 hitter projected, at least in Nick Prado. One thing I like about Prado is the defense should be pretty good as well. So as we take a look at our team, I'm going to be trying a few things out literally just in like the first couple weeks. I really want to give Kenan Shanowski a shot, and I know he is going to fail. I know that. But just someone who is the number 3 overall pick, his stuff and his movement's really there. The control used to be 50, and I've seen it oscillating from anywhere from 30 to 45 just during this past offseason. So I want him to give it a shot. Maybe he'll get lucky and be good for a couple starts, and then he could be really, really good. I doubt that's going to happen, but we shall see. Otherwise, I also wanted to give Beeks a chance. So it looks like Martinez's ratings are starting to decline, as well as obviously the stats from last year. If I set his position back to starting pitcher, you can see that stuff rating now at about 60 out of 65, whereas Beeks has just been on fire, and he did really well in spring training. Granted, this is out of the bullpen, but you can see a .93 ERA, a ton of strikeouts, and no walks and no home runs. So I got to give him a chance in the starting rotation, because if he can be good out of there, then he'd be more valuable, obviously, than he would be out of the bullpen. But I would say when Shanowski inevitably doesn't do well, we will move Martinez in the rotation, see how he does. When he probably also fails, then we'll put Godley in the rotation. So we've got a mix of different people that we can kind of substitute in. Hopefully we can make it work, but it's going to be a lot of moving parts, at least in terms of our pitching staff. In terms of our lineup, things should be pretty normal. Akil Badu and Brendan Tinsman both made the team. They will be backups, but they are on the team. And otherwise, it should be basically the order we had last year, except Prado is going to be in there for Justin Williams. I think, what are some of the big question marks this year? Obviously, it's going to be our rotation. Hopefully, Osmer Morales. I mean, we've had a lot of people who have been good. Then they come over to the Royals, and they're terrible. So hopefully, Morales can buck that trend. So we'll see what happens, but I will see you guys at the first year player draft, and thank you for watching.